Hi everybody, it's Saturday night and I have nowhere to go, so I might as well review chapter 1 to 5 quiz with you since some of you had a little trouble. So if there's a way to pull up the quiz on Microsoft, okay, do it now. Maybe you can do a split screen. You know I don't know the technology. I'm going to pause, see if you can pull up the quiz, and then watch this tape, and hopefully you'll understand the things you got wrong. Okay, go for it. So first I want to remind you need to read the directions, not just for my work, but for all work. Read the directions. Read each question or statement carefully and select the best answer. Some questions could have more than one correct answer. Check all that apply. Now I know you hate those kinds of questions, but you need to be able to think in more than just one little regimented box. That's most of you are having that problem. You need to kind of open up that thought process. So number one, what is the advantage of Scout being the narrator? There are how many answers here? She can give insight into what all the characters are thinking. No. That would be a third person narrator. She has had time to reflect on the events of the story. Definitely yes, because she's the adult looking back at those 3 summers of her life. She is an impartial narrator. No, because that would be the third person narrator. And she tells the story through the eyes of an innocent child, which contradicts that she has had time to reflect. Okay, so there was only one answer. She has had time to reflect. Okay, number 2. Why does Harper Lee or Scout give the background of the Finch family? Now, this is one of those thinking questions. That's why you're having trouble. The themes of discrimination and tradition are introduced. Yes, the Finches left England because they were being persecuted because of their religion. Okay, so that introduces the theme of discrimination. And in discussing the Finches and Atticus, it shows you a contrast. He does not stay at Finch's Landing. He does not become a plantation owner. He leaves Maycomb and becomes the lawyer and then comes back. And that's really going to be important to what happens later on in the book. And by the way, Scout is so not impressed with her family heritage, which is going to come back in part 2 of the book. Number 3, what does Dill do that adds excitement to Jem and Scout's lives? He is an amazing storyteller and has experiences they don't. He's been to a movie theater. He has seen Dracula. He's traveled on a train. So his stories are really exciting to them. The best answer, so there were the 2, he suggests trying to get Boo Radley out of the house. Okay, so 2 answers for that one. What is Stephanie Crawford's purpose in the story? Okay, be careful, because if you're watching the movie, they combine a bunch of small female characters into one. Miss Crawford is the town gossip. Okay, Miss Rachel is Dill's aunt, and he's staying with her. So, and she's not a positive role model because she's a gossip. So the answer is she offers insight and information about people of Maycomb. And by doing that, she is helping develop the characterization of others. So those were the 2 answers. What made the Radley family different than the other families of Maycomb? There was only one answer for that, and my pages are out of order. But the idea is that they kept to themselves. Okay, everything else is a false statement. Number 6, which of the following statements are part of the Boo Radley legend, fact versus fiction? Okay, so that question was horrific, but I wanted to know what the fiction was. He was arrested with a group of teenage friends. That's true. His real name is Arthur. That is true. He went out at night peeping into windows and could freeze azaleas with his breath. No. And he ate raw squirrels and cats, which stains his hands blood red. No. Think about it. Have you ever held a steak or made a hamburger? Your hands cannot be stained red. So come on, guys, think. You can't breathe on a flower and it freezes. Why did Jem touch the Radley house when Dill dared him to? Well, the one answer you really should have had is Jem didn't want Dill to think he was scared, and his pride was at stake. Really, really important. We see this later on when he goes back to get his pants. His pride is at stake. He's never gotten in trouble with Atticus, and he doesn't plan on doing it now. And if you're talking about, if you got confused with Scout offered him a nickel to touch the Radley house, no, it was Dill who offered a comic book that was part of the dare. Number 8, what is an example of Miss Caroline's lack of understanding? Actually, guys, it was all of the answers. Okay, it was all of the answers. And some of them were recall questions and some of them were inference questions. Scout tells you that most of those kids have repeated the first grade. So she's writing the ABCs on the chalkboard. They know them. Most of those kids work on farms or live on farms. They know that cats don't talk, kittens don't talk. So that shows she doesn't understand them. Offering a Cunningham or offering a student money to buy lunch, doesn't understand them. And then screaming at the cooties and telling a kid to go home and take a bath, doesn't understand them. So all 4 should have been your answers. Number 9, which is not an example of Scout's rudeness and lack of manners. Okay. Actually, what did I do on this one? Sorry, give me a second. I'm gonna find my papers. Okay, I'm back. So here we go. All of the answers are the answers. Okay. Now remember, this is a Bildungsroman, a book about growth, 3 summers. Pay attention to Scout in the beginning of the book, middle, and the end. But right now, when she yells at her teacher, "You're shaming him, Miss Caroline," that's rude and blunt. Points out that Dill lies when she catches him, when he talks about his father and other things like that. Beating up Walter Cunningham in the playground because she got in trouble. And then when Walter is pouring on the molasses and she goes, "What the Sam Hill are you doing?" He drops the syrup pitcher. So they were all examples of rudeness. Now, number 10, why would Walter pour molasses all over his meal? Okay, so molasses is like syrup. No, he does not pour it on Squirrel. There was no reference to that. Calpurnia is not a good cook. No reference to that. He is trying to eat as much as possible since he goes without meals. Well, that could be an inference, but syrup isn't really going to fill you up. It's the idea that it's luxury and he doesn't have it at home. Now, the best example I could give you is when we were little kids, in our house, we didn't have soda. Soda was a luxury, unless we had Italian food, because you can't eat pasta with milk. But when we would go somewhere, oh my God, we would just fill up on soda. Okay? McDonald's hamburgers, I always use this example. The only McDonald's was in Center Ridge, half an hour from Miller Place. We were allowed to have as many as we wanted. I'd order 3. Okay, I was 7 trying to eat 3 cheeseburgers. I'd be sick in the back of the car. But I was allowed to, so I did. And that's what's happening here. Walter is getting the luxury of eating this wonderful meal, and then if I can have syrup on it, great. Okay, 11. Identify one of the lessons Calpurnia gives to Scout in chapters 1 to 5. Okay, no reference about wearing a dress to school from Calpurnia. Bending the law, that's from Atticus. Some people are the same in the house as they are in the streets. That comes from Miss Maudie. So the only answer is anybody who sets foot into your house is your company. That comes from Calpurnia. How does Harper Lee, Scout, characterize Beers Ewell's family? All of them are correct. You know, some of them are inference. You had to figure it out, read between the lines, and some of them were outright fact. Education is not important to them. Well, they only go to school on the first day. So that is inference. They are allowed to break the laws. Atticus tells Scout that they are allowed to break the laws. For example, Mr. Ewell hunts out of season, otherwise his children would starve. Okay. The Ewells have been the disgrace of Macon County for 3 generations. Look at the question. I put it in quotation marks. It comes out of the text. It has to be a true answer. And then lastly, personal hygiene is not one of the priorities. Again, that is inference. That is inference. Can you see my little dog in the background? She's so funny. Right, she wants to be let out. Give me a second. I'm going to pause again. Okay, I had to let Riley out. So, personal hygiene is not one of their priorities. If you look at the way Scout described him, he's got the cooties, his neck has got crime on it. Personal hygiene, not important. So, all of them. Which family is juxtaposed to the Yule family? All right, guys, by now we need to know. We need to know juxtaposition. This should be a word that you just automatically know. Okay, same idea, but total opposites. Two families on two different spectrums. There are only two families that are developed enough for you to have answered it correctly. It's the Cunninghams and it's the Finches. Okay, those are the two families that are juxtaposed with the Yules. Alrighty, let's see. Plot devices. All right, I had to pause again, guys. Sorry. I don't know why I'm trying to do this on a Saturday night. Hold on. Okay. It's going. What was used as a plot device, which leads to Atticus's lesson, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks if you can see things from their point of view, climb into their skin, and walk around it. Okay, such an important quote. You really should know that quote. Okay. Major theme, so you should really internalize that. By now, we should all know what a plot device is. This is one of those things you're going to be expected to know, especially in our regions. A plot device is something that happens to advance the plot. Okay, without a plot device, we would not have A, B, C, and D happen. So the plot device is Miss Caroline and Scout's first day at school. Okay, and the tension and the conflict and the embarrassment and all those little tiny stories, that leads to the major lesson. Okay, question 15. Why does Scout think Boo is still alive even though Jem tells her that Boo is dead? Okay, this had two answers. Miss Maudie says he's alive. Miss Maudie says he's alive because the body has never been taken out. And secondly, when Scout was in the tire and it rolled into the Radley front yard, Scout heard him laughing and she saw a shutter move. Okay, Mr. Radley. So there's Mr. Radley, Mrs. Radley, Arthur, Boo, and Nathan. Okay. Two sons and parents. Nathan comes back to Maycomb. It's because old Mr. Radley died. And now Nathan is in charge of the punishment of his brother. Okay, one of you pointed out Nathan will be taking over the punishment of his brother. Not taking it on like he's going to be punished now, but taking it on in terms of a father figure. All right, two positive female role models. I already talked about that, I think. Miss Maudie and Calpurnia. 18, how does Atticus react when he catches the children with the fishing pole? So to remind you, the fishing pole had a letter. We're trying to get in touch with Boo. Hey, come on outside. And this is right at the end of the chapter. So he sees what they're doing as tormenting the man. Again, I put it in quotation marks. And he wants them to stop that nonsense right now. Remember, Atticus grew up in Maycomb. He knows this family. He knows their history. He has a connection with them, a relationship with them. He knows the truth, and he sees what his children are doing as mean, and he wants them to stop it. He wants them to have some kind of compassion. Okay, the line, do you smell my mimosa? It's like angel's breath. That was said by Miss Maudie. You need to know literary terms. Okay, I'm going to just keep pushing these until now, till June, because this is something you guys need to have for next year. So it has two answers. Like angel's breath, so it's a simile, and it's also the imagery. Mimosa, angel's breath, evening, you should be able to see it. And then the last question kind of pulls it all together. Themes that have been introduced in chapter 1 include, and the answer is various types of discrimination and the impact of socioeconomic differences. So I only have 15 minutes on my, whatever I call this, whatever I'm using, so I've got to stop now because it's 14:46, and I will make another one real soon. Okay, stay well. Bye.